the great honor and opportunity to introduce to you a person who has been taking the democratic values throughout the 5th District of Virginia for the last months and years. This is a person who's been working the hamlets, the towns, and the cities and the counties in the 5th District. It is a daunting task. He's been there day after day after day, talking about important values and making real headroads in a very difficult race. Our friend, the soldier, the statesman, the farmer, the Democrat, Al Weed.
The numbers are not quite as big out there, but the spirit is the same. Martinsville, Danville, everywhere we go where there are Democrats, there are people who understand this time for change. This time last night, I was standing with about 10 men on strike at Goodyear in Danville, standing around 2 big 55-gallon drums, trying to keep warm. And what those men were doing is they're out on strike, not really for their jobs. They're out on strike for the retiree benefits that gave up wages so that they would have medical care when they got older, that gave up wages so they'd have a decent pension when they got older. They're out on strike so that jobs, so Goodyear doesn't send jobs overseas. They're out on strike for working people, not only in this district, but in America. And I want you to know that that's what Democrats stand for, is the working people of America. That's what differentiates us from the Republicans. So when you think about how important this race is, how important November 7th is, think of those 2 55-gallon drums, keeping some very brave men warm as they strike for workers all across America. Now, this is a good, solid Democratic place. But every vote here will help workers all through this district. Every vote more we get here means the better the chance we have to take this race. And it's absolutely vital. Nowhere have I gone in over 9 months now have I found any strong support for the war. People are afraid, but they know the war is a failure. They're afraid for their children. I was in a little store in Brookneal, and I shook hands with this older gentleman. Then he said, you know, I'm worried. My grandson just went in the Marine Corps. So I sat down with him and I said, well, I've got a boy over there. And he said, yeah, I know. And he said, that's why it matters that we make a change. This is what's going to happen on Tuesday, November 7th. People are ready for a change. There's blood in the water, and it's time for us to take this country back. Yeah. One last story, because I love it. That's the nice thing about grassroots politicking, is you actually meet people and maybe even change some minds. I was doing some symbolic, granted, canvassing last night in Danville in a sort of upper middle class neighborhood. I know, you guys have been working your butts off. So I have a list, and these are the good Democrats or the potential independents. You know how it works if you've been canvassing, and I know a lot of you folks have been. So I have a list, and it's got one name on it. Okay, I go up to the door, and the gentleman answers, and he happens to be a real estate agent, and he has his name tag on. And so I say, well, Mr. I know I need to talk to your wife. And he said, oh, you're Al Weed? And I said, yes, sir. He said, well, come on in. Okay, I mean, so he's kind. What the heck? And he said, you know, I've always been a Republican, but I have decided this year I'm not voting for any Republicans. I'm voting for all Democrats, and if my wife doesn't get in here in 5 minutes, or in 1 minute, she was fighting with some dogs in the back or something, so we could celebrate the fact that you came by. Now, this was Danville, folks. Danville.